I want to explain the character trigger. I'm going to be looking at the camera some and then over here so I can see my whiteboard. The character trigger is a way to divert energy away from old markers in the brain. And let's say those old markers are where an old process is. So your energy goes up the spine, and this is where the old process is. The energy goes there and activates that process. And let's say that process is go open the refrigerator, get out ice cream and eat ice cream and watch a movie. And you can do this almost mindlessly. And it's programmed in because once the energy goes to that programmed in process, it activates these other centers. And so it increases the energy because it's like, okay, now I got to move my arms. Now I got to pull the fridge open. Now I got to get the remote. So it's like these technical things that are programmed into this one spot to do mindlessly. This is what I learned in the military from training. We would train things like reloads over and over and over. So when you're under duress, you will automatically do reloads because I've been in combat and I did reloads. And when we were done with the engagement, there were magazines at my feet and I had no clue that I reloaded. It was programmed in and it did it on its own. So here's where the comes in, the character trigger. How do you stop the energy from going there in the first place? Because there's neural pathways that direct the energy that have been reinforced. The neural pathways are reinforced and the energy goes to that spot and triggers it and it starts lighting up with energy and going through its process. So I came up with this. Okay, how do I capture that energy and divert it where I want it to go? Okay, first, I need to create a new marker in the brain where I want the energy to go. Because you can learn a new skill, but it does not become habit because they're not neural pathways just hammered in or built really well that send the energy there automatically. It takes time to do that and repetition. And how do you get the energy to that new thing you programmed in? You got to force it there over and over and over. So you got to capture it. But first, you got to put this new marker in. So, how I developed this was I was like, okay, how do I get something into one spot? Well, first, I need to take control of my body manually. And so I do a breath work where I am overriding my body's natural way of breathing on its own. And it changes my focus and my awareness to like, oh, and my body's like, oh, now the soul is in charge. So first I got to take control of the system. And then I realized that energy is going to these markers to activate them or activate the process that is within those markers. So then it's like, okay, so um, what's the best way to capture the energy? Right here, after I create the new marker. So the new marker is where you create a symbol, a character sheet, you do tapping, and you do your breath work. And you do all of these together. It takes a little bit of time to build this out properly. And I'm giving a really brief overview. But when you build it out properly in the right order and you program it in, it becomes a new marker in your brain that you can send energy to. And so what's cool is you also, in this, you develop a character sheet of what you want. It's like basically the programming of how you're going to conduct yourself. And then you have a symbol, because with a symbol, you can look at McDonald's symbol or the Apple symbol, and immediately all that information populates. So when these are tied together, when you think about your symbol, which is programmed into your new marker, your character sheet or your instruction manual automatically populates all that information and that feeling, identity. So then tapping. What the tapping does is when you program these in together properly, When you do tapping, let's say you pick a spot and you go pop, pop, pop. When you are programming in the character sheet, that tap, that stimuli is now associated with this marker. So let's say you tap right here with this hand. So this is the best picture you'll ever see in the world. So when this hand taps right here, there's a signal being sent out the body to the hand, and then it's creating a loop and it's received and it goes back up there. So it is reinforcing that you want the energy to go to this marker. So you take a deep breath, you do the specific breath work, you do your tap, and when it's programmed in properly, all your character stuff populates and you send your energy to this new marker. So the old energy is going along this neural pathway. Now you've captured it in that moment when you do your tapping and you activate your character trigger and you divert the energy to here. Once you get to here and you activate your character trigger, then you're in control of your system. Then you choose exactly what you're going to do next. Let's say, like, I don't know, let's say I just like to sit down and just watch TV when I could be going washing the dishes. So what I would do in this situation is I would hit my character trigger. When I'm wanting to go sit down and watch TV, that's energy trying to get to this spot right here. So what we're fighting was where the energy is going in our brain. So I hit that character trigger, and automatically all my focus and energy in my brain is going to the character trigger or the new way I want to be. And then I say, okay, this character in the character sheet does not sit down and watch TV. This character goes and does dishes. So basically, you're getting into a whole new place to program in functions. So each time you hit that character trigger, and then each time you go do that new function that you're programming in, you're just reinforcing it. But the character trigger makes it so much easier to fight that energy flow in your brain. You know, when you want to do something, you just give up and you just go do it. That's that energy that's been so ingrained to go one spot. But you want to build an off ramp, and the character trigger allows you to divert the energy. And when you keep doing that long enough and you are feeding the brain properly all the nutrients it needs to build those pathways, what happens is it is easier for it to build those pathways to send that energy there. And eventually, the brain is very, very awesome. Eventually, when you use your character trigger consistently, the energy is just like, oh, we don't go here anymore. We just go here. So you walk in there and you're like, oh, I go wash dishes now. I don't go lay down on the couch. This works great in environments where there's tons of stress, or you go, like I went to family court and I used this in family court because that was very stressful, but I had to be totally calm, cool, and collected. Where I programmed in the character trigger is when I was in the gym on the row machine. I would push myself so hard on the row machine to where I wanted to quit, and then I would hit my character trigger, and I'd pull that energy up there and be like, oh, this character goes longer. And then I would push a little bit further because now I'm embodying a different version of myself and I can go further. But I'm programming this in under duress, and I'm choosing to push my body and do stuff that I'd usually stop when it's the hardest. This could be carrying kettlebells, you know, like pulling a sled. That's the great time to program this in to build that new character. Because if you go 10 seconds further under duress than you did before, you're stepping into a new version of yourself. You're capturing that energy up here in the new character trigger, and you're choosing, oh, I can push further than when I would have quit. So you're out of breath, you're breathing, but you've programmed it in with your breath work. And when you program this properly, you have a calm mind, your breath work is done properly. And so what happens is like you can be under duress, like training and rowing, and like you do your breath work, hit your character trigger, and you automatically become calm and focused because the energy is just like right here. We got fresh air and we're focused. So you take this into the duress situation, like in family court. That's the most stressful thing in civilian world I think of right now. I know there's more things. Um, and you go in there and you activate your character trigger because you've programmed it in under duress, and you're like, oh, calm, cool. This is a different version of me. Because in life, we meet people and we run across people that are in our history that purposely want to trigger us, that want to make us mad, that try to antagonize us. But when we have this superpower to control our energy on the inside and go calm, cool, and collected and just focused, they're like, what the crap? Because check this out, when people trigger you, they may say things that are attached to a memory and they'll say that memory's in this file up here. And they say something and let's say it's gaslighting or invalidating, or somebody did something horribly wrong and then they act like they didn't do it. Well, then you automatically pull out that memory. The energy goes to there, pulls out that memory. That memory starts playing, and that memory has processes built into it where it activates your heart rate or your breathing or your anger and your frustration. And all of a sudden, you're just all mad and angry at them because you know they freaking wronged you and you're so mad and you want to flip out. And then you flip out and they're like, haha. But when you are controlling where your energy goes, you can automatically stop it from accessing that memory and send it to the character trigger. But I also have a lot of in depth work on how you can take memories from the past in a meditative state and you go in and you implant the new character into the old memories. So then, check this out. When those people or those things trigger you and pull out these memories, this new character is triggered. And so you go into the new version of you. And so those old memories become fucking empowering. And you're just like, oh, no more control over me. Because what we suffer is our imagination and our memory mostly inside of us. But this is an overview of the character trigger. And I can go way more in depth because each piece needs to be learned properly and get a good, a good warm and fuzzy about that concept. As you learn it, then you like, okay, I know how all these concepts work. Now I'm going to put them together. And then once you build your customized character trigger, you have a powerful tool that you can use at any time. I hope this is helpful. Like I designed this and used it on myself. And I designed this in 2003. No, 23. Sorry, in late 2023, and I used it on myself. And I've been teaching it on my YouTube channel, and that's why I created the school platform I have, or the school community I have, and I have a module that's all about the character trigger because it helped me so much. I was like, I need to get this to people that can use it. So anyway, I hope this helps. If you have more questions, I would love to answer your questions. I'm done.